ashamed of that shit. Like, it's just funny. It's just something we don't talk about. But like, that's why these albums, or this album in particular, I think is therapeutic. At least for me, and I can imagine to a lot of people that it touches. For those who just haven't listened yet, right? If you haven't, what's wrong with you? I'm looking at you.
Is this the case?
He was looking at me, bro. I'm sorry. I only got through the first track. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
I look at to ask the same. What's wrong with you?
I'm sorry, Schmo. I'm sorry, Schmo. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get it done. I promise. I promise.
But for those who haven't listened yet, explain the premise of Black Habits, because it starts with a prayer, right? And there's a very important child prayer for his daddy at the beginning.
Yes. So until the end of the prayer, you think it's just the happy moment, and that's or a simple happy moment. It is a happy moment, you know what I'm saying? But it's never simple, and I think that's the common thread throughout the project. It's all enjoyable, but it's never just surface level. You can go back and be like, wait, there's something to that, you know. So it starts off with the morning prayer, which is mom getting the 3 boys ready for school, leading them in the affirmations like I'm smart, I'm strong, I'm beautiful, and then having them pray at the end of the prayer. You know, one of them is like, you know, even after the affirmation, it's like, if somebody puts their hands on you, what do?
Sock them in the face.
Make them wish they didn't. And then the kid is on the side like, sock them in the face. And these are literal memories because fighting wasn't something we would get in trouble for.
Right.
Like, we were never bullies. We didn't have to be. We had brothers, you know, but it was you would get in trouble for not standing up for what was right or defending yourself. So that's where it starts off, and then it goes on this journey through, you know, that bully mentality, you know, and we use it as a metaphor in No Comments to go ahead and be like, now we bullies in this rap shit, where it's like, all right, I'm gonna give you that energy where it's like, you know, I'm here, I'm the one, excuse me, I'm the one for the job, no comments, you know, and so just to set the tone and then take them through that story, from like Top of the Morning, Sun-Kissed Child. Sun-Kissed Child is the transition to where it's like, okay, let's talk about what this family dynamic is.
That's an important record, Sun-Kissed Child. And the second verse probably stuck out to me the most, again, where you describe the relationship between husband. And then speaking to you now, one of the questions was like, how much of this is metaphorical and how much of it is lyrical?
Yeah.
But, you know, between husband and wife, where the husband introduces the wife to drugs and addiction via crack. So that was your parents' dynamic.
Yeah, so a lot of the second verse is just straight down the pipe, literal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's really how things happened. And me and your story is a little bit different in that you watched your parents transition from addicts, you know, out of that into sober, you know, people. And then, but for me, it was the moment where my memories start was right when the addiction ended. And I think that was a conscious decision on the part of my mom to be like, my kids can't know me as this person. You know, Pops was locked up. So that was, we knew what it was, but I never knew her in that state. So when I tell those stories, it's like, it's third person. It's like, you know, I've had those sit downs and learned how that came about. So.
Word, man. I think it says so much, right? Like my daddy is a lyric where you say calm off the ganja, but in the 80s they gave us drugs and the gun meant to spawn our
destruction.
Ganja, rhymes,
yeah.
destruction. Like that shit was hard.
Yeah.
But, you know, the crack era.
Yes.
Wait, hold on. I did not catch that. Hold on.
That shit was hard.
Yeah.
But
destruction.
But in the 80s they gave us drugs and the gun meant to spawn our
destruction.
Ganja, rhymes,
yeah.
destruction. Like that shit was hard.
I don't know.
But
I don't know. That
you know,
that
the crack era
really
fucked up a community, fucked up families.
Facts.
And often I think when we think of the term crackhead, we see the broken down, we see the ill effects. Rarely do we hear, like it was a common thing, like people didn't know, I try to explain to people didn't know what crack was. You didn't know the effects of crack until
when it hit.
Right. It was just another way to get high, and then you start to see the effects. But there's people who survive that era.
Absolutely.
And there's plenty of families who were destroyed, and there's plenty of families who survived that era and came out okay. So that's why I think your story is an important story, because most of the times we hear about the ones that didn't make it.
Right. And it's easy. The crackhead is one of them terms.
Facts. That's like one thing that that I can attest to, having grown up similarly, is the fact that it was almost few and far between how many success stories you would hear, and compared to how much failure stories you would hear. And that's one thing I really appreciate about my family and my family dynamic, and the people that raised me, my aunt and uncle, is the fact that they made sure that even if it wasn't, my family necessarily, if it was somebody that looked like me, if it was somebody that, was maybe similar to me. And I'm not saying just black or a brown person. I'm talking about a person of color in general, or any type of person that has a hardship, or somebody that's going through their adversity. My uncle and aunt made sure that I knew that, like, if they could get through it, so could I. So, like, they made sure that I realized there was no reason to not be successful, and I can appreciate that.
It's like you just dismiss somebody, like it's no longer a person, it's a zombie.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so, but there's so many people who have addicts in their family, and now it's like we still talk about what an addict is. It's motherfuckers that's addicted to sugar.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But that's neither here nor there.
No, but how do you think? Okay, look, because a lot of what you did. Look, you got another song, right? Closer to God.
Yeah.
A track that you did with Sir, and it kind of talks about addiction, almost like, I get high to get closer to God, as a simplification of what the song is actually saying.
Mm-hmm.
But as an educator, as a teacher, you spend time teaching in Inglewood High.
Yeah.
You're around the youth a lot. You're around a lot of kids. So, there's a big fear about the drugs that's going on for this generation. And it's not crack anymore, but it's the pills, it's the lean.
Yeah.
What's kind of your take on what's going on now? Since you lived through it, survived, and I think came out triumphant as your family,
Gotcha.
what do you see what's going on kind of now with this generation?
I'm gonna just go ahead and say straightforward, I don't fuck with the shit that niggas be on these days. Like the pills, the lean, that shit.
Big facts.
It kind of upsets me that somebody let that get popularized. Like, how do we do that? Because it's so lean, it's so artificial. Like weed, okay, it grows, it's a plant, we can trace that back. But then you have this artificial substance that we don't really know its full effect on somebody, and it's in music, and it's perpetuated. So, as an artist, you want to be like, to each his own. What they do is what, but I don't really fuck with that. We got rappers dying and shit, and niggas still putting it in songs as if it's cool. So fuck that shit.
Talk to him, Smoke. Talk to him.
But I feel like I know that people do certain things for a reason, right? These are symptoms of their experience. So, for me personally, I try to make music that gives people other outlets. You know what I'm saying? The highest compliment I've gotten on the project is that it's healing. You said that, it's soul food, something that is both enjoyable and nourishing. And I think music for generations has been that. It's played that role. So that's what I want to. That's my antidote to it. But all the pills and all that shit, I don't fuck with it.
The other album, you say, I don't need trees to get a fade. I get up like I saw police and hit the gate.
Yeah.
What made you quit smoking? Because you don't.
I don't smoke no more.
Yeah.
You know what? I kind of stopped enjoying being high. Smoking, I've always liked partaking with family. It's like breaking bread. You know what I'm saying? I got my loved ones around. I got other artists. It's like,
That reminds me of a certain friend. I'm not gonna drop his name, but he know who he is. He be on that little smoky smoke. For if you know, you know. If you know, you know.
Match up, you know what I'm saying? Run it. I'm with that. I'm with, engaging with my folks, having a moment, but then afterwards my state of mind is altered, and for me, I enjoy my natural state of mind. I invest in making sure I got a healthy state of mind. I'm an avid reader. I have conversations with dope ass intellectuals and, loving people, artists, you know what I'm saying? So my natural state of mind is an enjoyable state. So when I start realizing, like, okay, even when I get high, I'm trying to get back to that place where I'm like, all right, that's what I know where I'm at right now. So I just stopped enjoying being high. I never really stopped, and I'm not gonna front with you. I never stopped enjoying smoking with folks. You know what I'm saying? That was cool to me. Pass it. Cool. But when I was like, okay, what's the alternative to smoking with motherfuckers if we want to create this bond, this moment that we share without being faded? Like, I don't need to be faded.
That's dope. And nah, I definitely want to touch on. That's something else I can relate to too. I stopped smoking weed.
Yeah.
You know, it was one day that it happened and somebody just passed me the blunt. I was with a bunch of rappers. And I was like, yo, I really don't have to do that. I don't feel like getting high.
Yeah.
Shout out to Buster. Buster passed me the blunt. But I'm like,
I saw Buster yesterday
cool.
outside the studio.
Good dude. Great dude.
Yeah, solid.
Going back to your days as teaching at Inglewood.
And I taught at other schools.
At other,
yeah.
Okay.
View Park across the street from Nip Shop. You know what I'm saying? I was there for a year, you know. Okay. I taught at Hawkins High School, you know, Westchester, you know, so I've been at a couple schools.
You was like the cool teacher though, like
yeah. I
heard a story, you actually did an interview with MTV. I didn't know this before, so I want to shout out my man, DeMonte.
Yeah. Demonte Pongo.
Yeah, man, he's fucking dope. Yeah. Casey Veggies was one of your students?
He was one of my students for his entire 11th grade.
What? Hold on. D Smoke taught Casey Veggies? What?
Yeah, he was in my Spanish class.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So he just passed you, like you was the cool teacher and he just passed mixtapes too.
Yes, because I used to play my music in the class, and I wouldn't tell them what it was. They just knew they'd never heard it, you know. So, say I would do my introduction, get them started on the activity, and I'm like, all right, y'all got 15 minutes for activity. You know, to me, I'm like, okay, that's about four or five songs. You know what I'm saying? Press play, put it on low enough to where it's like, okay, it's not jazz, it's not class. Oh, this hip hop. What's this? And the students like, hey, what is this you listening to? And only the ones that asked, I would let them know, you know, this is probably just something I'm working on, you know. So he was one of those. And so once he found out, you know, I do music, he was like, the very next day he came in with the fully packaged CD, shrink wrapped, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, well, what 11th grader does that? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's a real experience. And we had grown man-ass conversations early because he knew exactly what he wanted to do and was already in motion, you know, so.
You tapped in, or is there somebody else we need to look out for that came from one of your classes?
From one of my classes? Oh, it's plenty, man. It's plenty. The talent is there. You know, it's. I learned a lot of the lessons late, you know, to get from like just being talented, being dope, to knowing how to, you know, follow those steps to get in front of the right people, you know. So, yeah, it's no shortage of talent by any means.
That's dope. And Spanish was one of the classes that you taught.
Yes.
What you talked about the subtitles series that you did. What made you want to incorporate Spanish into your rhymes? Like, was it something that just came naturally to you, or was it a strategy? Because it is something that gets people talking, man. And look, I'm Puerto Rican. Your Spanish better than mine.
Oh man,
you know what I'm saying? So,
see, that's the thing. Like, I definitely enjoy it when he drops the Spanish and starts rapping in Spanish, but I also feel like it can be perceived as kind of gimmicky. And, like, in some cases where it doesn't, you know, come off as 100% natural, it does feel kind of gimmicky. So I want to know where he's at with this.
So the running joke of Puerto Ricans is that we don't speak Spanish. Like, we was born in the States.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But now, it's dope. Like, when you just break out, it's so seamless.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
It's ill, man. Like what inspired that?
I mean, the first time I rapped in Spanish, I was just kind of like, I looked up and I was already fluent. I was like, I'm writing raps. Let me switch. You know what I'm saying? Just it was, you know, happenstance. And then I did it a couple times, and there was a show. And it's actually in 2011 we opened up for Kendrick Lamar at Whiskey A Go Go, which is a club that is like a 400 cap small club, but he packed it out. And his crowd wasn't really fucking with no openers except for us, like talking over everybody's performance. And you know, when we went up, you know, we started off our shit and they were like, the crowd got silent. It's like, okay, we don't know this, but this shit is dope. So they start paying attention. And then I did a verse to the song called Overkill. The second verse, the band dropped out, beat dropped, and I was like, si tú me entiendes, te lo digo. Andar en mi zona, eso es no más suicidio. Crowd went nuts, like, what the fuck? Right? Lost their shit. And then after that, and I probably had maybe 4 or 5 Spanish verses in the bag, but I didn't dive into at the length that I have now. But I think that moment told me, like, oh shit, like, you know, not only is this something that I can do, but they don't expect it, and it's so memorable. So I just dove a little more into that. And my major in college was Spanish literature, so I had done so much writing that my approach to putting verses together is not so much from a, here are some of the things that they say a lot in Spanish music. It was more so like I can tell full stories, I can express my mind as if it were more of an essay, So, and that's what I think the Spanish crowd appreciates, because it's like they hear Spanish music, but they don't hear it with this approach,
Yeah, it's not like, it doesn't seem like pandering,
right?
Or just like a parlor trick, like y'all can rap and spell. Like there's a meaning when you switch still.
Absolutely.
Even the song like Gospel Yanga, which is like, for those who don't know, right, African who led a colony of slaves against Spaniards in Mexico.
Absolutely.
And that kind of, and I think especially in Cali, right, it's important between black and brown people, the unity, because there's so much made about the differences.
Yeah.
And the unity, and so when I heard Gaspar Young, I was like, oh shit, that's dope. Like you kind of tying it together in a real historical way.
Absolutely. And I never say his name. Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Snoop. I never say his name in the song, and that's intentional. It's just more so summoning that energy, because he is a general. He led a revolution,
I like that. I never really thought of it though. I like that. Okay. Now if I wasn't excited before, which I wholeheartedly was, I cannot wait to get through Black Habits now.
You know what I'm saying? And the line you was talking about. Oh well, no, I don't know if you mentioned it, but my favorite line off that one is "Aunque soy sano, no puedo decirlo de mis hermanos si andan tirados sueño en tu chorizo." Like, so it was just like, even though I'm good, I can't say the same about the folks that I run with. If y'all acting up, it's, turn you into chorizo. So, but yeah, that's that moment where
I low-key got
demonstrate a little bit.
Did you and Snoop, did y'all have that? Because y'all had that moment on Rhythm and Flow.
Yeah.
It's like, where you from?
Yeah.
Inglewood. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Now, where you from? Yeah.
Was the song ready and play, or was the song inspired by that moment on Rhythm and Flow?
Yes. No, absolutely. It was definitely inspired by that moment. It was one of those last minute additions to the project. We had several finished drafts of Black Habits that didn't have that song on it, and then once we got hold of that beat and I started writing to the beat, and the hook came about, and I realized I didn't have a song that explicitly was like, where you from, Inglewood, you know what I'm saying? And you got to do that, Damani. Shout out to Damani from Inglewood. He was like, he had a huge song. Tell him where I'm from, Inglewood, Inglewood. Just the ring of the city. When you hear it is dope, and I know I wanted to do that. So when the hook came about, I was like, it would be crazy if we had Snoop do it, because the world saw that moment, and that's their first taste of some West Coast shit coming off of Rhythm and Flow. They was like, that's a LA ass moment, you know.
Right.
So.
Nah, that's super dope, man. I love that track too.
What's
you mentioned opening for Kendrick earlier. You drawn a lot of comparisons to him. A lot of people compare you to Kendrick with the way the music sounds.
Now this is what I want to hear. This is what I want to hear.
Do you hear what everybody else is hearing on the surface, or does that bug you out? Does it bother you? Like, what's your take on that?
It doesn't bother me. I think there's not so much of a precedent of somebody who is both entertaining and really saying some stuff that causes you to listen more than once, to really dig deep into the meaning behind it. So, if it were some turn up shit, if it were some club shit, then it's a movement, it's a sound. You know what I'm saying? It's regional. But because there's so few people doing, in that lane that he walks brilliantly, that Cole walks brilliantly. It's like that box. Early in his career, he had to deal with the comparisons to so calling me, all the shooters be calling me Compton, so calling me Quale and Common proves ignorance is bliss. Right. It's just that when you don't have that amount of that your bodies of work that you've put out aren't in depth yet, they only have that way of understanding you. As you move along, people start to understand you more for who you are.
Right. No.
See, and that's one thing that I want to point out. That's the thing I try to get people to move away from when they talk about comparisons, or when they start mentioning comparisons. It's like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. I can hear it sonically. I can kind of see it stylistically. But my question is like, why not let them walk their own path? Like, why does there have to be a benchmark? Like, I understand like you want to you don't. It's natural. People don't like being in a situation they're unfamiliar with. But like the fact that you are this, you have to constantly find a way to familiarize somebody else's work with what you're familiar with by comparing them to somebody else's work that you know of. Like that takes away from the power of the person that you are just now looking at. That takes away from the effect that their project has. And I think that that's kind of one of the frustrating things when people talk and start comparing D-Smoke to people like Kendrick Lamar. It's like, yeah, I can hear it. It's there, no doubt about it. But like, why do you need to make that comparison? Why can't you just let their music, let their two very different, musical voices stand on their own?
No, man, I did a rhythm and flow after show, and that topic had came up. Scotty Beam was hosting it. Shout out to Scotty Beam.
Shout out to Scotty
I think me, Ebro, and Karen Civil were on it, and that question that came up. Well, do you think he sounds like Kendrick? And I can honestly hear similarities in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but my point had been like, there's certain people that come and they just kind of change the sound of hip hop, and we get Lil Uzi Vert, and there's 1,000 cats that sound like Lil Uzi, and nobody cares.
Right.
And the minute we get one that may sound like a Kendrick or a Cole or somebody of that substance that you talk about, we'd be quick to cut them down. And it's like, well, let's just see how this play out real quick, because and that was my comment then. That was maybe immediately after you won the show.
Right. And you definitely didn't have much to.
I didn't have much to go on.
Stance, right?
But I'm like, man, I got a feeling. Let's see how this play out. And I say all that to say with Black Habits, again, as I'm listening, I started at the top of the show saying how much I connected to this album, and maybe it's just me personally, because a lot of your experience, a lot of what you're talking about is things that I went through. Mm-hmm. So then right there, that automatically, like, oh, this is another thing. This is, when I'm feeling this is what I put on.
Exactly.
And I can only put on D-Smoke Black Habits when I need to feel this. You know what I'm saying? So, I wish you luck, you know what I'm saying, on your journey. I look forward to more music from you in a long career, that we could dive into different stories, different topics, and different conversations, and really find out who D-Smoke is, the totality of it. You know what I mean?
Man, I appreciate that, man.
Nah, for sure, man. We always end the show with this one thing, man. I'm gonna ask you to rap a verse a cappella, right?
Okay.
But not one of yours, because I know you got all that. I know you just came off of Good Morning America. You got verses for days. You just rapping on Good Morning America. That's crazy.
Okay.
A verse for somebody that inspired you, something that just moved you on your come up, man. Like, you got any of those?
Okay. Yes, I do. Let me see.
Let's get it.
All right. I'm gonna go with this one. You let me know if you recognize it. Me and everything around me is unstable like Chernobyl. Ready to blow at any moment, jumping like a pogo stick. Life never lived up to my expectations, so I accepted patience. Expect the worst, but now I'm pacing back and forth inside. I'm melting like water on wicked witches. A monster truck then came and ran over my picket fences. I had the best of life in my clenches, but monkey wrenches was thrown like chairs kings sit on. My prayers seemed too long. I fall asleep before the ending. Don't even get to say amen. I hope he understand. I be on bended knees. At times I think I'm crazy, then I say forget it. Or maybe it's the devil infiltrating in like Riddick. Bo, I've been fighting this since them fetus days. I count from 1 to 20 when I'm through. Repeat the phrase. It's just a phase. It's gonna all pass, but that gets old too. I'm weakening like a deacon doing dirt. What am I supposed to do?
Definitely Andre 3000.
Yeah, that's my shit.
That sound like a Three Stacks verse. That rhyme scheme sound like a Three Stacks verse.
AT Aliens album. Yeah, man.
Yes, sir.
Super hard, man. That's dope, man.
Man, respect.
D-Smoke, man, you welcome anytime. The Genius, man. Definitely.
All right. So, that was a very enjoyable interview. I might have to break this into two little parts, you feel me? You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, I was feeling that. It was very informative. I feel like I really got to know D-Smoke. So, yeah, that was fun. If you want me to do more of that, if you want me to, getting the other artists. Drop a comment. Feel free to hit that like button. Subscribe if you ain't part of the SQUA already. Go ahead, hit that notification bell. We're gonna be back soon with some new for you. Once again, thanks for watching. Thanks for staying with us. Spread this around. Show your friends and your family. All right, peace. I'll see y'all next time. Gang, gang.